all throughout my history. Your faithfulness has walked beside me. The winter storms make way for spring. In every season, from where I'm standing, I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. And I see the promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. Help me remember when I'm weak. Fear may come, but fear will leave. You lead my heart to victory. You are my strength, and you always will be. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I see your promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. See the cross, the empty grave, the evidence is endless. All my sins roll away because of you, oh Jesus. See the cross, the empty grave, the evidence is endless. All my sins roll away because of you, oh Jesus. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. And I see your promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. Oh, I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. Oh, I see the promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. And why should I live? The evidence is here. Why should I live? The evidence is here. Oh, why should I live? Why should I I will not fear no. Why should I
I count on one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now. in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. I count on one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will for all my days. Yes, I will. I count on one thing. The same God who never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God that's never late is working all things out. He's working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. I choose to pray. Glorify, glorify the name of man. Nothing can stand against. I choose to pray. Glorify, glorify the name of man. Nothing can stand against. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Yes, I will all my days. Yes, I will all my days. Yes, I will. If I cannot sing your song in this foreign land, I will kneel fall down and weep until deliverance comes. When truth is reconciled and mercy plays like a child, I must bow down low and pray real slow. If I forget the road and turn from outstretched hand, if I judge the sinners, even though I cannot stand, who do I think I am? If God would heal this land, I must bow down low and pray real slow and listen. Won't you listen? Listen. I must bow down low and pray real slow. All the saints and angels, they bow before your throne. All the elders cast their crowns before the Lamb of God and sing, you are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. Singing all the saints and angels, they bow before your throne. All the elders cast their crowns before the Lamb of God and sing, you are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. Day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, you are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all.
Worthy of it
You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things. You deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things. You deserve the glory.
Okay, how many of you guys have seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Maybe you've seen the old movie, the new movie, maybe you've read the book. If you don't know the story, essentially the gist of it is that there's Wonka who designs candy and chocolate, and he puts out this contest of the golden tickets in his product. And if you get a golden ticket, you were able to come for a tour of his facility. And there was only a handful of golden tickets. So this handful of people go to this factory and they kind of get this tour. And throughout the story, essentially people do things, they make poor choices, or maybe they disobey someone, and essentially they get kicked off the tour for some reason until one person makes it to the end, and that's Charlie. But the scene I want to talk about is about a character named Violet, and it's where she disobeyed something Wonka said and actually turned into a giant blueberry. So I'm going to jog your memory if you've seen it. If not, bear with me. Okay, Wonka had invented this piece of gum that had an entire 3-course dinner in it. But he forbid Violet to chew it as it wasn't ready for human consumption yet. It was still in the testing phase. But Violet rudely snaps back that she holds the world record for chewing gum and begins doing it anyway, even though Wonka is protesting and telling her not to do it. The reasoning was that the blueberry pie stage was still defective, and it caused Violet to turn blue, inflate, and expand into a giant blueberry. Okay, she's only able to waddle the tiniest bit because of her size. She literally turned blue, inflated, and was a blueberry. And Wonka tells the Oompa Loompas, which are his workers, that they're to roll her to the juicing room to extract this blueberry juice immediately, implying that she will explode if nothing is done about the problem. Okay, I want you to think back on your life, and I want you to think back on something, have you ever done something or ever disobeyed something someone told you? Okay, maybe it was something pretty serious and there were serious consequences, but maybe they were just silly things that you did and you look back and you're like, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Okay, growing up, I lived next door to my best friend, and me and him got into a lot of crazy things that we shouldn't have. But one that I vividly remember was that in the house that I grew up in, upstairs was literally just 2 bedrooms, me and my brother, and you came down the stairs, and then the stairs turned, and then there was a small flight of stairs of like maybe 4. And I had this old wooden rocking horse that was upstairs. And I remember my parents saying, the rocking horse stays upstairs, doesn't need to come downstairs to the living room. But me and my friend were not gonna have that. We thought it would be a good idea to push the rocking horse down the stairs. Not a good idea. We didn't realize that as young kids, that when we pushed this rocking horse down the stairs, that the rocking horse didn't steer on its own. So what happened is it went through the wall at the bottom of the stairs. Needless to say, we were in a lot of trouble. Or I remember me and my brother, I remember my grandfather made these like ceramic horses, and they were kind of weird, but they were beautiful. And my mom had them on either side of our TV stand. And me and my brother would cause ruckus in the house every so often, but I remember My mom was out doing something. I don't know if they were running errands. We were a little bit older. And me and my brother were fooling around. And what had happened was someone hit the rocking horse and the leg broke off of it. And we were freaking out because, you know, my grandfather had passed away and this was something that my mom had that was his. And I remember me and my brother scrambling, trying to figure out what we were gonna do. Do we glue it back on? Like, what do we do? So the idea that we came up with was that we're just gonna take the leg away, the piece that broke, and hope that she doesn't notice. Didn't really work out for us, and needless to say, my mom was pretty upset. You know, she told us not to mess around in the house as kids all the time, and there was reasons for those rules. There was reasons for those expectations. You know, so looking back in your life, have you ever done something where you disobeyed something someone told you and there was consequences for your disobedience? When we look at the 10 commandments that God gives Moses in the Bible, they're broken down into what I say would be 2 sections. Okay, the first 4 commandments address the issue of showing love to God. The next 6 commandments address the issue of showing love to people. And today I want to focus on this 5th commandment. And in Exodus 20, verse 12, it says, "Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you." Or in Deuteronomy 5:16 puts it, "Honor your father and your mother as the Lord your God has commanded you, so that you may live long and that it may go well with you in the land the Lord your God is giving you." When you think of the word obedience, or better yet, honor, okay, what words come to mind? Some things for me that come to mind are the word esteem, value, great respect, integrity, honesty. It's very clear that the Bible commands us to honor certain people. God makes it very clear to us. When I look at this commandment about honoring your father and your mother, I see it as kind of a connection point between these 2 sections of loving God and loving others. God reveals himself as our Heavenly Father, and no father deserves more honor than him. Respect and obedience are very much the actions that reflect the internal attitude of honor. Okay, let me say that again. Respect and obedience are very much the actions that reflect the eternal attitude of honor. When we honor someone, a lot of times it comes out in the way that we respect and obey them. I would say that a good baseline for defining honor is to esteem someone or value someone. And the biblical focus of honor comes from honoring others, but also the command to honor God. We've been working through this sermon series the last couple weeks about, family dynamics and what that may look like. And last week, Pastor Joe talked about this idea of a family strong and what that looks like and how God is a key component in that. This 5th commandment that we're going to talk about today gives us some insight in how learning respect and honor in a family dynamic prepares us for showing the ultimate honor to God himself. Even from the beginning, we see the idea of a purpose of a family. Okay, we see the importance of marriage and parenthood. In Genesis 1:27-28, it says, "So God created mankind in his own image." So God created us. In the image of God, he created them, male and female, he created them, okay, with the intention of marriage. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it." This idea of start families, expand. He goes on to say, "Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground." So from the beginning of creation, we see the importance of family, the purpose of family. The problem with humanity now, though, is that it's broken. That creation story looks fantastic, but the second side of that creation story is the fall of mankind, this idea of sin entering the world, and that humanity is broken. We live in a society that surrounds itself with disobedience, okay, prides itself in disobeying others, and that sometimes causes children to disobey their parents because that's what they see. Even in the smallest sense, going back to when I was growing up, I was told not to mess around in the living room. There was consequences for my disobedience. But even from the beginning, God had a vision for parenthood, and actually the influence parenthood and the honor of parenthood could have on future generations. Parents have influence, okay? When it comes to a child's introduction to authority, parents often help form attitudes about the rule of authority and showing honor. So if a parent is not someone who shows respect very easily, a child is going to learn that based on the environment that they're in. They're going to monkey see, monkey do. We may not want to hear this, but there isn't an age limit for honoring our parents, okay? God doesn't get us off the hook as adults. That doesn't happen. This is a biblical command that we never outgrow, that we're all children, okay? We all have a parent, whether that's good or bad. We're all children, and we don't grow out of this command of honoring our parents. You know, God gives us these commandments of things that are prevalent in our society, and clearly there's a reason that God tells us to honor your mother and your father. This command of honoring your mother and father was actually given to the nation of Israel, okay, most of whom were actually adults. It was a group of people. It wasn't like a group of kids hanging out in Sunday school. Like, there was adults, and this was given to them. The best way to teach children to respect and honor authority is by teaching them with your words, okay, but also with your example. There's two sides of it. Children need discipline, they need correction, okay, but they also need example and modeling. They need people to show them. Parents have the opportunity to teach their children to honor others and authority by the way they honor others in authority. We try to teach our children to honor their parents from obedience. But ideally, we want them to, this attitude to blossom into honoring out of love and trust, okay? We don't want just people honoring because they think it's always the right thing to do. It needs to come from this, it needs to blossom into this attitude of love and trust and respect. Parents sacrifice a lot for their kids, okay? I didn't maybe necessarily realize that until, I had a kid of my own. And when we had Micah, long gone were the days of just hopping in the car within a 5-minute time span and go for a car ride. It takes time to get out the door. You need a diaper bag. You need all these things just to even get in the car, just in case there's a problem. That's just a small sacrifice, but it's a sacrifice that we had made that was different than when we were single and we were just married and young and living life. We need to realize that parents sacrifice a lot for their children, and sometimes maybe we don't realize that. It's clear that God calls us to honor our father and our mother. But my question is, what does that look like in your season of life? What sacrifices do maybe we need to make? What does honoring your parents look like where you are now? Because honoring my parents looked a lot different as a young child, as a teen, as, a young adult, now getting a little bit older. Like it grows and it evolves on how I honor them. God intends for honor and respect to be shown after we leave the home, after we become adults, after we start our own families. Honoring our parents doesn't just stop. It shouldn't just stop. It should extend. Okay, we see these examples in the Bible where people take care of their parents. We see the biblical example of Ruth and Naomi. They take care of each other. Some people maybe are not so good at this whole parenting thing, okay? That's fair. Maybe you grew up in a broken home. Maybe you grew up without parental figures at all that were worthwhile. But there's one certainty, is that parenting is a challenge, okay? And it's worthy of respect and honor. Okay, parenting is not a walk in the park. Okay, parenting is hard. In the early years, naturally, young children see their parents as everything, okay? Young children want their parents, okay? You drop your kid off at daycare and there's tears. You drop your kid off, at grandma and grandpa's, there's tears. They want mom and dad. Maybe not necessarily with our kid. Our kid loves going to daycare and smiles as soon as he gets there and is like, okay, bye mom. I'll see you later, I guess. But he's still excited to see us when we pick him up. What mom and dad thinks shapes a lot of who kids are or how they see themselves. It's almost like at a young age, children see their parents as perfect. But as children grow, they get older and become more aware of things like we know as adults, that attitude can and will shift. Children get to the stage where they become more independent. They give other influences more weight in their life, and they become aware of the faults of their parents. They realize that mom and dad aren't perfect, that mom and dad still make mistakes. And some of you may dread the idea of parents. Okay, some of you may have mixed feelings about the command to honor your parents. Some of you may have experienced neglect or abuse and feel as if this commandment should be ignored, that it doesn't apply to you. Maybe your parents didn't live honorable lives in any way, and that's unfortunate. But whatever the circumstances are surrounding your family, we still need to find ways to honor our parents, not because they deserve it, but simply because it's the right thing to do. God doesn't give these exceptions in the commandments. He says, honor your father and your mother. He doesn't say honor your father and your mother only when they do the right things or only when they truly love you. And that's hard because most of the time our natural inclination is to honor those who have earned honor through actions or choices. Okay, we say this idea that, respect is earned. There's a pastor that said it's respect that people have to earn. Honor is a gift that you give freely. So what are some ways you can honor your parents when maybe you think they don't deserve it? Maybe they didn't live honorable lives. Prayer, okay, praying for them. Forgiveness, even though it's hard to come to that point, but that's what Jesus calls us to, is forgiveness. The idea that there's, accepting the flaws of humanity. This idea that we're all broken, but what do we do with that brokenness? And also trying to remember the good things to be grateful for, that even in maybe the worst family situation, maybe there was something that you were still grateful for. Maybe there was a moment that you still remember that brought you joy. And maybe you didn't know your maternal mothers and fathers, okay? But I bet there were those who stepped up to be a mother or father in your life, and we need to honor them as well. Even through the family stress fractures that we experience, these cracks in our family, the pain and the destruction, there's rehabilitation and correction that starts a new chapter of blessing through us. This fifth commandment of honoring your mother and your father is actually the first commandment that comes with a blessing. The New Testament words it like this. In Ephesians 6, 1-3, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Every commandment that God gives us is for our benefit. But there's one that we're talking about today that's especially highlighted for the blessings that it brings. It's a commandment with divine blessings attached to it. God wants us to honor our parents unconditionally, even though it's hard, regardless of how they treat us, and God promises blessing and reward with long life. Honoring our parents brings longevity and prosperity to our lives. Okay, I've heard this verse kind of broken down like this. Okay, number one, children are told to obey their parents because it's a command. So obey because it's the right thing to do. Okay, it's what we should do. Obey your parents. Number two, children are told to obey their parents because it comes with a promise or a covenant. Obey because blessing of a long and well life follow. There's quality to our life and there's quantity to our life. And number 3, children are told to obey their parents because it's an ongoing task. There's continuance. In Genesis, we read that a husband and a wife leave their father and mother, but there isn't a loss of relationship there. They don't just disappear. Yes, they start a new family, but they don't disappear. What some people forget about this commandment is that there's a second part that says if we honor our parents, then we will do well in life and have a long life. Having honorable relationships in our life extends it. Okay, Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. We've heard that before when we talk about encouraging and building up others. Having godly and honorable relationships are important because they do things like encourage and correct and uplift. The list could go on. God created us to be relational beings. Like, he created us in his image. We're relational. And, that's been super hard the last year. With COVID and the restrictions, it's been hard to be relational because, we don't want to break the rules, that there's things that are placed on us that we have to follow, and it's hard to be relational. Long gone are the days of just going and sitting for coffee with a friend for right now. It's been hard on the church to be encouraging and uplifting to each other because we don't know how to do that. It was a lot easier when we gathered in a building on Sunday mornings and we got together and we were seeing each other all the time to do that. But we've had to learn how to do that differently for the past year. And that's been really hard for me. I've struggled with this idea of having honorable relationships. There's been times, especially from Christmas until now, where I've really questioned the relationships in my life and whether they're actually honorable. And that's hard because they're relationships with Christians. And I'm like, okay, well, are we doing this right? Like, what's going on? Because honorable relationships bring longevity and prosperity to our lives. And, I wasn't feeling that. So who are we letting shape our lives? Are we surrounding ourselves with honorable people? Or are we surrounding ourselves with the scoundrels of our life? The ones that are causing mischief? Who are we giving the greatest influence in our lives to? Are we allowing people to help us cultivate a habit of honor? Colossians 3:20 says this: children, obey your parents in everything, for it pleases the Lord. Okay, honoring and obeying parents goes far beyond following the rules of the house or doing the chores that we're asked, okay? It goes far beyond of being a young kid and being told to clean your room or do the dishes or take the trash out, whatever that looks like. There's a bigger picture in play. And by us learning to honor and obey our parents, we're actually cultivating this habit or attitude of obedience inside of us and of honor for authority and for others around us. A smooth functioning family system is based on respect, honor, and obedience to authority. Okay? I can imagine most of you would say that family is important. If there's anything that most of us would agree on over the last year, is that family is important. But there's one family that actually has the greatest value to God, and it's the family of God. A man named Mike Bennett said this: family is a lifetime commitment. Okay, reflecting the permanence of the family relationship we see or we are called to in becoming children of God. As the Apostle John wrote, behold what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. Okay, 1 John 3:1. A family that is known for its acts of love and trust and commitment and an honoring bond is a good family. And the best good family is one that is not of this world. Okay, where we take the honor of our earthly parental figures and we turn our focus to the ultimate honor of Jesus. And that's where this commandment really stems from, is are we learning to honor a very clear relationship in our life that God's given us, and learning how to honor Jesus in that too. God's family is nothing of this world. I think we know that. You know, God's family pushes us from the pain and the destruction to something of eternal blessing. Matthew 12:48-50 says, "He replied to them, 'Who is my mother and who are my brothers?' Pointing to his disciples, he said, 'Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my Father in heaven is my brother and sister and mother.'" Jesus affirmed the importance of the family of God. Okay, he never said that our biological families were no longer important, but rather being part of the family of God is a far greater thing and takes priority. So let me challenge you with this. Is there a relationship or situation in your life that you need to restore with some kind of expression of honor? Is there something or someone in your life that you need to honor in a better way? Is there someone in authority over you that maybe you disagree with? Okay, I think this is pretty prominent over the last couple days that we've had, and the announcements that have been made, and the opinions that everybody has. But is there something or someone in your life that you need to honor in a better way? Okay, what does being honorable look like to you? Okay, take these biblical examples because I hope that they challenge you. Okay, you had Joseph, who treated Pharaoh and the guards with honor even after how they treated him. Okay, Daniel and his friends still spoke respectfully to King Nebuchadnezzar, regardless of what was happening. David prayed blessing over King Saul, even though Saul sought to kill him, and David could have killed him multiple times. He didn't. He prayed blessing over him. Out of honor for God, we give respect and honor to others. And that can be hard, okay? When we disagree with others, we disagree with what's going on, it's hard to give honor. But we need to kind of check our heart. And are we willing to honor those around us and in turn honor God? Okay, 1 Peter 2:17 says, "Show proper respect to everyone, love the family of believers, fear God, honor the king." Or Romans 12:10 that says, "Be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves." This idea of putting others first, okay? It's very easy for us to try to pin blame on someone, but it's a lot more difficult to actually pray for them when we disagree. Okay, it's a lot more difficult to stand by someone when you disagree with them. It's not by accident that God actually calls himself Father or calls Jesus his son. There's when God tells us to honor your father and your mother, God makes this relationship very clear. An example of that is Jesus literally in the garden before being betrayed was, praying to his Father and said, if there's any other way, can we do this? But if not, your will be done. This idea that he was willing to honor his Father. Thing is, God relates to us as humanity, as a family unit, okay? When we truly understand our roles in our earthly families and our earthly relationships, we better understand what it means to be a part of God's family, okay? Honoring one another and honoring God. So again, I want to challenge you with this. Is there a relationship or situation in your life that you need to restore with some kind of expression of honor? That's what I want you to think about this week. Is there someone that I need to be more honoring to? Regardless if they deserve it, regardless of what I think about them, but simply because it's the right thing to do. And does it stem from an attitude and a habit of honor and an attitude of love and trust? So let's pray. God, I just thank you for who you are. God, I thank you for being our Father. And God, I thank you for relating to us as a human unit. And God, I just pray that we would continue to learn what it means to honor our parents, even as adults. God, that you would teach us how to honor authority, that you would teach us how to honor others. God, that you would show us what it really means to have honorable relationships in our lives. And God, to maybe reach out to those that we disagree with, maybe reach out and have this expression of honor to someone that maybe we really don't get along with. So God, I pray that you would continue to teach us and lead us and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.
You're the God of abundance. You are faithful and true. You provide for our needs. Give us manna from heaven. Each day mercies are new. You're the God of our fathers, David and Abraham. You made a way through the desert, shut the mouths of the lions, crossed the red on dry land. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Worthy of all our praise, now till the end of days. Great is your faithfulness. You're the God of abundance, right on time, never late. Pain might last for the night, but joy comes with the light. On our knees, God, we'll wait. You're the fire in the night sky and the cloud in the day. Used to fishes and bread, raised a friend from the dead. God, you will make a way. And we sing, great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Worthy of all our praise, now till the end of days. Great is your faithfulness. You're the God of provision. You are never in need. Though we want and we squander, if we seek you in wonder, real abundance we'll see. Oh, and we sing, great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Worthy of all our praise, now till the great is your faithfulness.